What's up, guys? It's me, Krashy, here again, talking about some Infinite Crisis. As you can see, I have this layout, and I'm actually doing this video in Photoshop. And the reason I'm doing that is because I set this up, and I'm kind of lazy, so here we go. It's going to be Krashy's Infinite Crisis Jungle tier list, and you can see I have multiple tiers set up, 4 tiers, kind of condense it down a little bit. One tier being the best in the game, second tier, or tier 1, because this is going to be God tier, most likely to be seen. Tier 2, can jungle efficiently or effectively, and tier 3 physically can do it. So let's go on ahead and get into this, and so you can go on ahead and see how my tier list moves down. So first we have the God tier, and I don't think that shocks anybody. The only person I currently have in God tier is Shazam. As I do this video, I want to kind of talk about my potential picks and why I've picked it out this way. Shazam just has one, if not the best initiation in the game. He has the potential and the damage to insta-gib any carry, as well as just amazing early game ganks from the slow on his E and the tackle on his Q. He just is a master of everything. He's got the early game pressure, he's got the damage, he's got the initiation. He's just everything that you could absolutely look for, as well as him being power damage. So it's really just, which we all know power damage has huge numbers. It's really just Shazam is in a really strong place currently. He's the only champion that I see belonging on the God tier. So going into tier 1, which is going to be the most likely to be seen, I have 4 champions, and these all are comprised of tanks primarily. And this is an interesting tier for me. I have a hard time placing people in tier 1 and tier 2, but I went ahead and put Atomic Poison Ivy. Now, to start, Atomic Poison Ivy has some of the most reliable hard CC in the game. She can efficiently jungle with her Q, and we know that her ganks are amazingly strong, as well as her pick potential, and she has decent initiation. So I definitely think she's a tier 1 jungler, something that you'll see go into the jungle if already not having a specific comp to allow somebody else to go into the jungle. If you do see her on a team comp, you might see her in the bottom lane, but I definitely think that in jungle she does belong in tier 1 because of how effective she can go. This one is probably going to be a little bit debatable in the community, but for me personally, I think Atrocitus is definitely tier 1. He has 2 amazing CC tools, his slow as well as his taunt. I think he has really good damage output, and the ability to pick is really, really high. I think one thing about Atrocitus is that he's lacking a little bit of initiate, but given the right champion to go along with him, or the right team to go along with him, I think he definitely belongs in tier 1. He's got good clear time, he's amazingly tanky, does pretty decent damage, and has good single target CC, so I definitely think he belongs in tier 1. Gaslight Catwoman, another carry that we're finally seeing in this list, is just the amazing ability to snowball her in the jungle. An AD jungler, assassin with good stealth, good execute, a really good kit for, you know, single target damage. She's got amazing jungle clear with her Q max to kind of clear out the smaller minions on some of those camps, and she's just really hard to predict, and once you get her going, it's really hard to stop. Gaslight Catwoman, definitely a contender in tier 1. Wonder Woman Prime, again, she I kind of struggle with because I personally hate the race to 6 with Wonder Woman Prime in jungle, but undeniably she's an amazing tank, an amazing asset to have during team fights. You kind of can set up that ultimate combo with her. She's you know, she's pretty reliable in terms of being a tank, but her initiation lacks a little bit. It doesn't take much to get her where she needs to be. You just buy a Speed Force, build her pretty tanky, and then she's definitely up there. I don't really care for her clear time personally, and I think that's one reason why I struggle with where to place her. But I did go ahead and put her up there with the rest of the tanks because I definitely think they all it's all a role that you're definitely going to want to see, especially if you're not just having someone that does a lot of raw damage like Gaslight Catwoman or Shazam, and so they definitely belong in tier 1 currently. Next we have tier 2, which is the can jungle efficiently or effectively, and I have Atomic Green Lantern here. Now there's actually 3 picks in here that I struggled with. This whole list I struggled with. Atomic Green Lantern, I think he's an amazingly strong champion. I think that his damage output is a little low, but in terms of like actually being able to jungle and having a decent amount of CC, he definitely has that. I just feel like he's a little bit lackluster on his damage, so I put him in this tier because he's not quite as good as the other guys in tier 1 and some of the others in tier 2, but I definitely don't think that he's just the bottom trash tier. I think he's definitely got some room to jungle in the game. Atomic Wonder Woman, another champion that I struggled to not put in tier 1. I tried to weigh the pros and cons between going Atomic Wonder Woman over Gas Cat, and I just think that the damage output and the ability to snowball is a lot higher on Gas Cat. Arguably a tier 1 champion for jungle. I just kind of threw her into tier 2 as a safety pick. I definitely think she is a contender for tier 1, tier 2. As well, she's got really good snowball potential, lots of damage, and really good initiation with her ult. I think she does tend to fall off in the late game a little bit, so it really just depends on how you utilize her in the early game and how she can affect the game as a jungler. So tier 2 jungler for her. Doomsday, again, I would love to put Doomsday in tier 1. It's just he requires a pretty good amount of setup. His late game is just not guaranteed. There's nothing about him that's guaranteed. You can never guarantee that you're going to land that slam. You can only just do your best with Doomsday. And I think that's really the only reason I dislike him, or not dislike him, but have the need to put him in a lower tier. I just feel that you can't guarantee that you're going to get a pick with him, but you can definitely make some really strong plays with him. And so that scores him a spot in the tier 2 role. Flash, oh my goodness, here we go with Flash. I think Flash definitely has a role in jungle, and the main reason being that it's just so hard to find and farm and to have a good lane with Flash. If you put Flash in a lane, he's constantly struggling, and if you really want a Flash on your team, what better way to get him some free farm than to just sit him in the jungle? His early pressure is really, really bad. His early, level 6 ultimate does almost no damage, but if you can get a Flash rolling, if you can find some picks, if you can hold off until a later team fight, you're definitely going to appreciate the fact that you put him on your team, scoring him in the tier 2 for me. Batman Prime is, again, he's one of the few bruisers in this game that I really care for on the AD side of things. Doomsday I tend to play as a tank, and he does do a lot of damage as AD, but he doesn't really have the survivability to have a full AD build. But Batman is kind of different. You can do a pretty strong AD build, scoring him a lot of damage. It's just his lack of CC, it really hurts him. He's got pretty decent initiation. It's just the fact that he can't really stick to his targets and do the damage that he wants to efficiently. I think that Batman Prime definitely has a place in the jungle, but I struggled to keep him out of tier 3 in this spot. I think if he wasn't AD, if he didn't do as much damage as he potentially can do, as well as being a pretty good split pusher, he would have easily been in tier 3. So that's why I chose to put him in tier 2. So tier 3, this is, I really did want to dilute my tier list with champions that I know can just actually do it. So when I say that these champions can physically do it, I mean they can physically do it within reason. Like, this is something you may see, but honestly probably not. So keep in mind there's no like power champions in here really. But again, it's just a list of people you may see in the jungle. So starting off, the Nightmare Batman nerfs, they were just so strong, and I mean there's pretty much no reason to put Nightmare Batman in jungle right now. I think his ultimate is still very good. I just think that his gank potential with the lack of slow is just not enough. So right now, while I don't think Nightmare Batman is completely terrible at jungle, he's actually really good at farming. He just doesn't really have a great place for it. Superman, another champion that I used to love to jungle. He kind of got over-nerfed a while back and hasn't seen the love that he's really needed for a while. Although we've already heard that Superman is getting the attention he needs, and I'm very excited to bump him up in my tier list because I used to love to play him. He currently just... He's in an odd spot. He does a good amount of damage, but his will costs are way too high to kind of build that on him. So then if you build him as a tank, he's not really the best tank, and he doesn't do a lot of damage. So I think now that Superman has, I don't know, the changes coming to him, he'll definitely jump up to maybe tier 1, tier 2. But currently, I don't know, he just doesn't quite do enough with the will, because he has really good CC, he has pretty good initiation, obviously. I just think he's somebody that I can see doing the role, but not someone you'll see anytime soon. Gaslight Joker, another champion that I was even reluctant to put on the list. He can physically jungle, he actually jungles pretty well, but it's just the lack of initiation and CC that he has that just makes him a superior top laner. So Gaslight Joker does really, really well by building up HP and armor. What better way to do that than to just score yourself some free credits in the top lane? But again, whenever he got his changes, whenever he was buffed, I thought he would be an amazing god tier jungler, and he was. It was just the lack of initiation and ganks and the lack of guaranteed ganks that set him at the bottom. And that's nothing wrong with him. I just personally don't see him as a jungler, but I figured I'd throw him in the list just for the sake of saying that he actually can jungle pretty good, and he's a really good tank to have on your team. Robin, again, another champion I was amazingly reluctant to even put on the list. I threw him in here because I think that someday Robin will have a place in the jungle, maybe. I really don't know what's in store for Robin, but I definitely think that he deserves some changes, and it's got to be big changes for him to be useful, in my opinion. And if he doesn't get those, well, then I'll eventually take him off the list. But he can physically do it, and I don't know. At this point, I'd say that Robin and Sinestro are about on the same list, but seeing as how you really won't see Sinestro in a competitive game, a serious competitive game, I've gone ahead and put Robin on the list in hopes that he might make it someday, and I guess we'll just have to see with some future patches. So that's my tier list, guys. This is going to be something that I save and will update constantly as we get new patches and new changes. I'm going to try to do one of these a month because I think that would be cool to see how new champions fit in. Definitely excited to see Supergirl and where she fits in this. I could easily see her tier 1, 2, 2 just based off of her kit. I don't know what her scaling is like, and I don't know exactly how she'll be built, but I could definitely see that for her. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you look out the links below. Check out my Twitter and my live stream. Make sure to follow that to see when I go live, and I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully you enjoyed the tier list, and I'll be looking forward to updating this for you guys in the future. Alright, have a good day. Peace.